He broke my ribs. But when I texted the wrong number, the mafia boss said, "I'm coming for you." The rain fell like bullets against the cobblestone alley, each drop echoing the pain radiating from Lily's broken ribs. She pressed her back against the cold brick wall of the closed bar. Her phone clutched in trembling hands, the screen blurring through tears she refused to let fall. 3 cracked ribs. That's what the urgent care doctor had said 4 hours ago, wrapping her torso so tight she could barely breathe. "You need to file a report," the doctor had insisted, her eyes full of that pitying look Lily had learned to hate. This kind of injury doesn't happen from falling down stairs, but Lily had smiled, that practiced, dismissive smile, and said it was just an accident, because reporting Jackson would make things worse. It always made things worse. Her fingers shook as she tried to type out the message to her best friend, Sarah. The screen kept jumping, her vision swimming from the pain medication wearing off and the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. "Sarah, I can't do this anymore. He found me at work, followed me home. I need help. Please. I'm scared." She hit send before she could second-guess herself, then slumped against the wall, every breath a knife to her side. The alley smelled like garbage and wet asphalt, but it was dark, hidden, and 3 blocks from her apartment where Jackson was probably still waiting. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. Relief flooded through her. Sarah always responded fast. But when she looked at the screen, her blood turned to ice. "Hello, lovely. If you're enjoying this tale of deception, courage, and unexpected rescue, tap like, leave a quick comment, and subscribe so YouTube knows to bring you more stories you'll enjoy. And if you're up for it, tell me your first name in the comments. I read every note, and it always brings a smile to my face." The message wasn't from Sarah. The number was unfamiliar, and beneath her desperate text was a single response. "Wrong number, sweetheart." Lily's heart stopped. She stared at the screen, confusion and horror warring in her chest. How had she checked her contacts, and there it was. In her panic, she'd typed Sam instead of Sarah, and her phone had autofilled to some number she didn't recognize. "Oh God, I'm so sorry. Please delete that message. Wrong person." She typed frantically, her ribs screaming with every movement. The rain soaked through her thin jacket, plastering her dark hair to her face, but she barely noticed. All she could think about was some stranger reading her desperate plea, knowing she was weak, knowing she was... The phone rang. Not a text, a call, from that same unknown number. Lily's thumb hovered over the decline button, but something made her answer. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the pain. Maybe it was the small, desperate hope that someone, anyone, might actually help. "Hello?" Her voice came out hoarse, broken. "You're hurt." The voice that came through wasn't what she expected. It was deep, controlled, with an edge of something dark beneath the calm surface. Not concerned, assessing, like he was calculating damage from a distance. "I'm fine," she lied automatically. "Really? I'm sorry about the text. I meant to send it to my friend." "You have 3 broken ribs," he interrupted, his voice dropping lower. "You're hiding in an alley because someone's waiting for you at home, and you're scared enough to text for help but too afraid to call the police. Am I wrong?" The accuracy of his assessment stole her breath. "How did you—" "I'm very good at reading situations." A pause then. "Where are you?" "I can't tell you that. I don't even know who you are." "My name is Damien Cross." He said it like she should recognize it, and somewhere in the back of her pain-fogged mind, the name did sound familiar. "And you're going to tell me where you are, Lily, because in about 30 seconds, the man who broke your ribs is going to check that alley. He's been circling the block for the past 20 minutes. Terror spiked through her. "How do you know my name? How do you—" "Your social media is public. Poor security, sweetheart. Now tell me where you are before I have to track your phone, which I can do, but it wastes time you don't have." Lily's head spun. This was insane. She should hang up, should run, should. Footsteps echoed at the alley entrance. "Lily?" Jackson's voice cut through the rain, slurred and angry. "I know you're hiding somewhere. You can't avoid me forever, baby. We need to talk about your attitude problem." Her entire body locked with fear. She pressed deeper into the shadows, one hand clutched over her mouth to muffle her breathing. "He's there, isn't he?" Damien's voice was calm, almost bored, but something lethal lurked beneath it. "Tell me where you are. Now." "Behind Murphy's bar," she whispered, barely audible. "The alley off 5th and Morrison. Stay exactly where you are. Don't move. Don't make a sound." The line went dead. Lily stared at her phone, disbelief warring with terror. What had she just done? She'd given her location to a complete stranger who somehow knew her name, knew about her ribs, knew things he shouldn't know. "There you are." Jackson's voice was closer now, triumphant. His silhouette appeared at the alley entrance, backlit by the streetlight. "Did you really think you could hide from me? After the stunt you pulled, embarrassing me in front of my friends?" "Jackson, please." Lily tried to stand, but her ribs screamed in protest. She crumpled back against the wall, gasping. "Please, what?" He moved closer, and she could smell the whiskey on him even from 10 feet away. "Please don't be mad that you disrespected me. Please don't care that you made me look weak. I didn't mean to, I was just trying to—" "Shut up!" He grabbed her arm, yanking her upright, and white-hot pain exploded through her torso. She screamed, the sound raw and broken. "Let her go." The voice came from behind Jackson, cold, commanding, absolute. A figure stepped into the alley entrance, tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark coat that made him look like he'd stepped out of the shadows themselves. Jackson spun, his grip on Lily's arm tightening. "Who the hell are you? This is between me and my girlfriend." "She's not your girlfriend. The man, Damien." It had to be. Damien moved closer with predatory grace. "And you're going to let her go. Now." "Or what?" Jackson laughed, but there was uncertainty in it. "You gonna make me?" Damien stopped 5 feet away, and even in the dim light, Lily could see his face clearly for the first time. Sharp features, dark eyes that looked black in the shadows, and a smile that was all teeth and no warmth. "I don't make threats," Damien said quietly. "I make promises. And I promise that if you don't release her in the next 3 seconds, you'll be drinking through a straw for the rest of your considerably shortened life." Something in his voice, the absolute certainty, the cold calculation made Jackson's bravado crack. He released Lily's arm, shoving her back against the wall. She bit back another scream as her ribs protested. "Whatever, man. She's not worth the trouble anyway." Jackson started to back toward the other end of the alley. "Crazy bitch probably texted you for attention." He didn't finish the sentence. Damien moved so fast, Lily barely saw it. One moment he was standing still, the next his fist connected with Jackson's jaw with a sickening crack. Jackson went down hard, hitting the wet pavement with a splash. "Stay down," Damien said calmly, standing over him. "If you get up, I'll put you down harder." Jackson stayed down, blood streaming from his nose, eyes wide with fear. Damien turned to Lily, and his expression shifted, not softening, exactly, but assessing. "Can you walk?" "I think so," she managed, though her ribs were screaming and her head was spinning. "Good. There's a car at the end of the alley. Get in it." "I don't. I can't just—" "You texted for help." His dark eyes bore into hers. "I'm here to help. But we need to move before he gets brave again or calls friends." He gestured to Jackson, who was trying to push himself up. "Your choice, Lily. Come with me, or stay here with him." It wasn't really a choice at all. She stumbled toward the alley entrance, each step agony, and true to his word, there was a black car waiting, expensive, sleek, with tinted windows and a driver who didn't even blink when Damien helped her into the back seat. As they pulled away, Lily looked back to see Jackson struggling to his feet, his face a mask of rage and blood. Then they turned the corner, and he disappeared from view. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice small. Damien settled into the seat beside her, pulling out his phone. Somewhere safe. Somewhere he can't find you. But I don't even know you. You know enough. He turned to look at her, and in the passing streetlights, she could see his face clearly. Handsome, in a dangerous way, with a scar near his left eyebrow and eyes that had seen too much. You know I showed up when you needed help. You know I stopped him from hurting you again. And you know... His phone buzzed, and he glanced at it before continuing. That I'm the only thing standing between you and him right now. Why are you helping me? The question burst out before she could stop it. You don't know me. This isn't your problem. It became my problem when you sent me that text. He said it like it was obvious. And I don't leave problems unsolved. The car turned into an underground parking garage, descending into darkness. Lily's heart raced, panic starting to override the exhaustion and pain. Where are we? My building. Damien pocketed his phone as the car stopped. You'll stay here tonight. Tomorrow, we'll deal with your ex-boyfriend permanently. Deal with him how? Damien's smile was cold. However necessary. The driver opened the door, and Damien stepped out, then offered his hand to help her. Lily stared at it. At this stranger who'd appeared out of nowhere, who'd beaten Jackson unconscious, who was now offering her shelter. She should run, should scream, should do anything but take his hand. But her ribs ached. Her apartment was compromised, and Jackson would be coming for her the moment he recovered. She took Damien's hand. His grip was firm, warm, and when he helped her out of the car, he was careful not to jar her injured side. They crossed the garage to a private elevator, and as the doors closed, sealing them in together, Damien's phone buzzed again. He read the message, and something dark crossed his features. What? Lily asked. Your ex-boyfriend just called someone. Damien pocketed the phone. Someone with connections to people I'd rather not deal with tonight. Which means our timeline just accelerated. I don't understand. You will! The elevator doors opened onto a penthouse that made Lily's breath catch. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that probably cost more than her yearly salary, and the kind of space that screamed wealth and power. Sit, Damien instructed, gesturing to a leather couch. I'll get ice for your ribs. He disappeared into another room, leaving Lily alone in the massive space. She sank onto the couch, every muscle trembling, and finally let herself process what had just happened. She'd texted a wrong number. A stranger had shown up, and now she was in a penthouse belonging to a man named Damien Cross, who'd beaten her ex-boyfriend and was talking about dealing with him permanently. Damien Cross. The name finally clicked. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and searched the name. The results made her blood run cold. Damien Cross, CEO of Cross Industries. Alleged organized crime connections, under investigation for racketeering. Known associate of the Moretti crime family. The Mafia. She'd accidentally texted a Mafia boss. I see you've figured it out, Damien said from behind her. And she jumped, pain shooting through her ribs. He held a bag of ice wrapped in a towel, his expression unreadable. Yes, I'm exactly what those articles say I am. And no, that doesn't change anything. It changes everything, Lily whispered. No. He moved closer, kneeling in front of her to gently place the ice against her side. It just means I can actually protect you. The police would take a report and maybe, if you're lucky, issue a restraining order. I can make sure he never touches you again. Permanently. By killing him? The words came out sharper than she intended. If necessary. Damien's eyes met hers, dark and honest. But there are other ways to neutralize threats. Less permanent. More creative. This is insane. I should leave. And go where? He sat back on his heels. Your apartment? He knows where you live. A hotel? He'll find you. A friend's place? You'll just put them in danger. He stood, offering his hand again. You're safe here, Lily. Safer than you've been in a long time. And tomorrow, We'll make sure you stay that way. She stared at his hand, at the choice he was offering. Stay with a dangerous stranger who'd shown up when she needed help. Or run back to a world where Jackson could find her anywhere. I'm coming for you, Damien said quietly, and she realized he was quoting himself from earlier. And you won't escape again. Not from safety, not from protection, not from me. It should have sounded like a threat. Instead, it sounded like a promise. Lily took his hand for the second time that night, and as his fingers closed around hers, she had the strange, terrifying feeling that her life had just changed in ways she couldn't begin to understand. But for the first time in months, maybe years, she felt something other than fear. She felt hope. Lily woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the unfamiliar softness of sheets that probably cost more than her monthly rent. For a disoriented moment, she forgot where she was, then her ribs reminded her with a sharp, breath-stealing ache. The penthouse. Damien Cross. The mafia boss who'd beaten her ex-boyfriend in an alley and brought her here. She sat up slowly, taking in the guest bedroom he'd given her last night. Minimalist furniture, neutral colors, and a view of the city that made her apartment look like a cardboard box. On the nightstand sat a glass of water, pain medication, and a note in sharp, precise handwriting. Take these. Breakfast is ready when you are. We have business to discuss. D. Business. Right. Because she'd accidentally texted a crime lord, and now she was apparently under his protection, whether she wanted it or not. Lily swallowed the pills and made her way out of the bedroom, following the scent of coffee to a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Damien stood at the counter, dressed in dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms marked with faint scars. He was on the phone, speaking in rapid Italian, his tone clipped and authoritative. When he saw her, he held up one finger weight, then finished his conversation and hung up. How are the ribs? He asked, pouring her a cup of coffee without asking if she wanted one. Painful, she admitted, accepting the cup. But better than last night. Good. Sit. He gestured to the glass table where breakfast was already laid out. Fresh fruit, pastries, eggs that looked professionally prepared. Eat. Then we talk. Lily sat carefully, her body protesting every movement. You didn't have to do all this. I don't do things I don't have to do. Damien settled across from her, his dark eyes studying her with that same assessing intensity from last night. I do things that serve a purpose, and keeping you healthy serves my purpose. Which is ensuring you don't end up dead because you texted the wrong number. He said it matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. Your ex-boyfriend made some calls last night. Turns out he has connections to the Marino family low-level, but connections nonetheless. Lily's hand froze halfway to her mouth. The Marino family. As in, organized crime. Yes. Damien took a sip of his coffee. He's calling in favors, claiming you're his property, and that someone, me, interfered. Which means this situation just became more complicated than a simple domestic dispute. Oh God. The pastry she'd been reaching for suddenly looked nauseating. I'm so sorry. I never meant to drag you into... Stop. His voice was firm but not harsh. You didn't drag me into anything. I chose to get involved the moment I answered your call. What happens next is my decision, not yours. But what does happen next? Lily asked, fear creeping back into her voice. If Jackson has mafia connections, and you're what you are, does that mean there's going to be some kind of war, or... No war. Damien set down his cup with deliberate precision. Just a very clear message about boundaries, but first, I need to know everything. How long have you been with him? How bad has it gotten? And most importantly, are you willing to let me handle this my way? Lily's throat tightened. Your way being? Protection. Complete protection. But it comes with conditions. He stood, moving to a drawer and pulling out a folder. When he returned, he placed it on the table between them. Open it. With shaking hands, Lily opened the folder. Inside was a contract, actual legal paperwork, with terms that made her head spin. A marriage contract? She looked up at him, disbelief written across her face. You want me to marry you? Legally, yes. Practically, it's a protection arrangement. Damien leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. If you're my wife on paper, Jackson and the Marinos can't touch you without declaring war on me directly, which they won't do, because they're not stupid enough to challenge my family over a low-level associate's ex-girlfriend. This is insane. This is practical. He gestured to the contract. You sign this, you become untouchable. You get a new identity, new documents, a new life. In exchange, you live here, you follow certain security protocols, and you play the part when necessary. Play the part, Lily repeated slowly. You mean pretend to be your wife. In public, yes. In private, you're free to do as you please within reason. His dark eyes held hers. This is business, Lily. Protection in exchange for cooperation. Nothing more. She stared at the contract, her mind reeling. And if I say no, then I'll still protect you, but it will be significantly harder and more dangerous for both of us. Damien stood, moving to the window. The Marinos are already asking questions about you. By this afternoon, they'll know your full name, your address, your work history. By tonight, they'll be deciding whether you're worth the trouble of retrieving for Jackson. Retrieving, Lily whispered. Like I'm property. In their world? Yes. He turned to face her, and something almost like sympathy flickered in his eyes. That's the world you accidentally stepped into when you sent me that text. And the only way out is through me. Lily's hands trembled as she looked down at the contract. Marriage. To a mafia boss. For protection. It was insane. It was terrifying. It was... How long? She asked quietly. Minimum 6 months. Long enough to convince everyone it's real. Long enough for Jackson to move on or be dealt with permanently. Damien moved closer, but didn't sit. After that, we can quietly divorce. You'll have money, new identification, and the freedom to start over wherever you want. And in those 6 months, you're safe. Completely safe. I have security, resources, and enough influence to make sure nothing and no one touches you. He paused. But you need to understand, once you sign that contract, you're mine. Not in a romantic sense, not in a physical sense unless you choose otherwise, but in every way that matters to the outside world, you belong to me. The possessiveness in his voice should have terrified her. Instead, she felt that same strange flutter of something she couldn't name. I need to think. You have 5 minutes. Damien checked his watch. After that, the Marinos will have finished their background check, and our window for a clean solution closes. 5 minutes to decide my entire future? 5 minutes to decide whether you want a future at all. His eyes held hers. Sign it, Lily. You'll regret it if you don't. She looked down at the contract, at the precise legal language that would bind her to this stranger, this dangerous man who'd appeared out of nowhere and was now offering her a lifeline wrapped in terms and conditions. Her phone buzzed on the table, a text from an unknown number. She picked it up, her blood running cold as she read. You can't hide from me, bitch. I know where you are. I know who you're with. And when I get my hands on you, you'll wish I'd only broken your ribs. Jackson. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. Damien plucked it from her fingers, read the message, and his expression went cold, not angry, but calculating. Lethal. 5 minutes just became 5 seconds. He pulled a pen from his pocket and set it on the contract. Sign, or I put you in a car and send you somewhere he'll never find you. Either way, you're not staying vulnerable. If I sign this, Lily's voice cracked. If I agree to this, what happens to him? He stops being your problem and becomes mine. Damien's smile was all edges. And I solve problems very thoroughly. Lily picked up the pen. Her hand hovered over the signature line, her entire body trembling with fear and adrenaline and the weight of the decision she was about to make. You're not going anywhere, Damien said quietly. Not unless I say so, Because once you sign that paper, you're under my protection. Completely. Absolutely. Permanently. For as long as the contract stands. She should run. Should refuse. Should find another way. But there was no other way. Not really. Not with Jackson's connections and her broken ribs and the text message that promised worse violence to come. Lily signed her name. The ink dried quickly, binding her to a man she'd known less than 24 hours. Damien took the contract, examining her signature with a critical eye, then nodded once. Good. He pulled out his phone and typed a rapid message. As of this moment, you're Lily Cross, my wife, under my protection, and completely off limits to anyone who values their life. That's it? She couldn't believe it was so simple. I just signed a paper and now I'm safe? You signed a paper and now you're mine, he corrected. The safety comes from what that means to people like the Marinos, what it means to Jackson. His phone buzzed, and he glanced at it with satisfaction. And speaking of Jackson, he's about to have a very educational conversation with some of my associates. What are you going to do to him? Nothing permanent. Yet. Damien pocketed his phone. But he needs to understand that his connection to the Marinos doesn't protect him from me, and that you are no longer his to terrorize. Before Lily could respond, there was a knock on the penthouse door. Damien's entire demeanor shifted, going from controlled to dangerous in a heartbeat. He moved to the door, checked the security camera, then opened it. A man stepped inside, tall, heavily built, with the kind of presence that screamed security, but his eyes widened when he saw Lily at the table. Boss, he said carefully. We have a situation. Define situation, Damien said coldly. Jackson Hayes showed up at the building, demanding to see his girlfriend. Says he knows she's here and he's not leaving without her. Lily's blood turned to ice. Damien's expression didn't change, but something lethal entered his eyes. Is he alone? No. He brought 3 guys. Look like Marino associates, but we're confirming. Confirmation isn't necessary. Damien moved to the window, looking down at the street below. They're making a statement, and I'm about to make a bigger one. He turned to Lily. Stay here. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone except me. Damien. She stood, panic rising. What are you going to do? He paused at the door, looking back at her. I'm going to show Jackson Hayes what happens when someone threatens what's mine. Then he was gone, the door closing with a soft click that sounded far too final. Lily moved to the window, looking down at the street 15 floors below. She could see them, Jackson and 3 men in dark clothes, arguing with security at the building entrance. And then she saw Damien emerge, walking toward them with that same predatory grace from last night. Even from this distance, she could see the moment Jackson recognized him. Could see the fear that crossed her ex-boyfriend's face. Could see the violence that was about to unfold. She pressed her hand against the glass, her ribs aching, her heart racing, and whispered a prayer for a man she barely knew. A man who'd just claimed her as his wife. A man who was about to go to war for her. If you're enjoying this story, I'd be so grateful for a like and subscribe. It helps me bring you more stories you'd love. Sen? Lily couldn't look away from the window, even though every instinct screamed at her to turn away, to not witness whatever was about to happen 15 floors below. Damien approached Jackson and his 3 associates with the casual confidence of a man who'd never lost a fight in his life. Even from this distance, she could see the way the other men shifted that subtle body language that said they recognized a predator when they saw one. The security team that had been blocking the entrance stepped back, giving Damien space. He stopped about 5 feet from Jackson, said something Lily couldn't hear, and Jackson's response was immediate angry gestures, aggressive posturing, the kind of behavior she'd seen 1,000 times before. Then Damien moved. It happened so fast Lily almost missed it. One moment he was standing still, the next one of the Marino associates was on the ground, clutching his knee and writhing. Damien had barely seemed to shift his weight, but the message was clear. This wasn't a negotiation. Jackson stumbled backward, his bravado cracking. The other two associates reached for something weapons, Lily realized with horror, but Damien raised one hand, and they froze. He said something else, his posture relaxed but his presence filling the space with threat. Then he pulled out his phone, showed it to Jackson, and Lily watched her ex-boyfriend's face go white. Whatever Damien had shown him, it was enough. Jackson nodded frantically, his hands raised in surrender. The two standing associates helped their injured friend up, and all four of them retreated to their car with the desperate speed of people who'd just escaped something worse than violence. They'd escaped Damien's patience running out. As their car peeled away from the curb, Damien stood watching until they disappeared around the corner. Then he turned and looked up directly at the window where Lily stood. Even from 15 floors up, even through tinted glass, she felt the weight of his gaze. He pointed to the building entrance, then to his watch. The message was clear. Get ready. We're leaving. 5 minutes later, Lily was in the private elevator descending to the garage, her ribs protesting with every breath. She'd thrown on the clothes Damien's assistant had left in her room. Designer jeans that fit perfectly, a soft cashmere sweater, leather boots that probably cost more than her car, everything in her exact size, like he'd known she'd need them. The elevator doors opened to reveal Damien waiting beside a different car than last night, a sleek silver sedan with tinted windows and an aura of expensive safety. He was on the phone again, speaking in that rapid Italian, but when he saw her, he ended the call. In, he said, opening the back door. Where are we going? Lily asked, as she slid carefully into the seat, trying not to jar her ribs. Somewhere more secure. Damien climbed in beside her, and the driver, a different man than last night, equally professional, pulled out immediately. Jackson got the message, but the Marinos need a more formal explanation, so we're going to deliver one. We're going to meet with the Mafia? Lily's voice pitched higher. Damien, I can't, I'm not. You're my wife now, he interrupted calmly, which means you need to act like it, at least for the next hour. I don't know how to act like a mafia boss's wife. It's simple. He turned to look at her, his dark eyes assessing. You stay quiet. You stay close to me, and you let me handle the talking. Can you do that? Lily's mouth went dry, but she nodded. What choice did she have? The drive took 20 minutes, ending at an upscale Italian restaurant in a part of the city Lily had never visited. The kind of place where reservations were booked months in advance and the prices weren't listed on the menu. Damien helped her out of the car, his hand firm on her elbow, supportive but possessive, the kind of touch that broadcast ownership. As they walked toward the entrance, he leaned down and whispered in her ear, When we go inside, you'll see men who've done terrible things. Don't show fear, don't show disgust. Just stay neutral and let me talk. Damien. Trust me, he said quietly. I won't let anything happen to you. The restaurant's interior was dimly lit, all dark wood and wine-red leather. A hostess appeared immediately, her eyes widening when she saw Damien, and she led them to a private room in the back without a word. Inside, 3 men sat at a round table. They all turned when Damien and Lily entered, and the weight of their attention made her want to flee. The oldest man, late 50s, gray hair, expensive suit, stood with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Damien Cross, he said in accented English. I was surprised to get your call. Marco Marino. Damien's hand stayed on Lily's elbow. Thank you for agreeing to meet on such short notice. When a man of your reputation calls, I listen. Marco's eyes shifted to Lily, and she fought not to flinch under his scrutiny. And this must be the woman causing all the excitement. This is my wife, Lily. The possessiveness in Damien's voice was unmistakable. As of yesterday evening, Marco's eyebrows rose. Your wife? How? Sudden. And yet you didn't invite us to the wedding. It was a private ceremony, Damien said smoothly. But I wanted to inform you personally, given the unfortunate misunderstanding with Jackson Hayes. Ah, yes. Hayes. Marco settled back into his seat, gesturing for them to sit. He claims you assaulted him over his girlfriend. Except now you're saying she's your wife. She was never his girlfriend, Damien corrected, helping Lily into a chair before taking the seat beside her. She was his victim. He broke 3 of her ribs last week. She texted me for help. I provided it. And then I claimed her properly. One of the other men at the table, younger, with cold eyes, leaned forward. Hayes says she's his property. That you had no right. Hayes is a low-level associate with delusions of importance, Damien interrupted, his voice dropping to something dangerous. And he doesn't get to claim anyone as property, especially not my wife. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Marco studied Damien for a long moment, then turned that penetrating gaze on Lily. Is this true, Mrs. Cross? You're married to this man willingly? Lily's throat tightened. She felt Damien's hand find hers under the table, his fingers wrapping around hers in silent support or warning. Yes, she managed, her voice steady despite her terror. I'm his wife. Willingly. Marco's eyes narrowed. And the injuries Hayes mentioned? From her ex-boyfriend's fists, Damien said coldly. Which is why she came to me for protection. Protection I was happy to provide, given my personal interest in her well-being. Personal interest, Marco smiled, but it was the smile of a shark. You expect us to believe you married this woman out of love? You, Damien Cross, the man who's avoided entanglements for 10 years? I expect you to respect the marriage contract filed with the city yesterday, Damien countered. And to understand that any further harassment of my wife by Hayes or anyone connected to your family will be considered an act of aggression against me personally. The silence that followed was suffocating. Lily felt the weight of it pressing down on her bruised ribs, making it hard to breathe. Then Marco laughed a genuine sound that seemed to surprise even the men at his table. You have balls, Cross. I'll give you that. He stood, extending his hand. Hayes is cut loose. As of now, he has no protection from us. What you do with him is your business. Damien stood and shook his hand. Understood. And in return, I'll forget his connection to your organization ever existed. Fair. Marco glanced at Lily one more time. Take care of your wife, Cross. She looks like she's been through enough. She's been through more than enough, Damien agreed. Which is why anyone who tries to add to her suffering will answer to me. The threat hung in the air, clear and absolute. Marco nodded once, then gestured to his men. They left without another word, leaving Damien and Lily alone in the private room. The moment the door closed, Lily's hands started shaking. Damien knelt in front of her immediately, his hands on her knees, his eyes searching her face. Breathe, he commanded quietly. You're safe. It's over. That was... She couldn't finish the sentence. Her entire body was trembling now, adrenaline and fear catching up with her. That was you being perfect, Damien said. And there was something almost like pride in his voice. You didn't crack, didn't show fear. You played the part exactly right. I don't know how to do this, Lily whispered. I don't know how to be what you need me to be. Yes, you do. His hands tightened on her knees. You just proved it. You're stronger than you think, Lily. Stronger than he ever let you believe you were. She looked into his dark eyes and saw something there she hadn't expected, not just cold calculation, but genuine respect. Maybe even admiration. What happens now? She asked. Now Jackson loses his protection. Now he understands that coming after you means coming after me. And now, Damien stood, offering his hand. We go home, and you rest. Because you're hurt, and you've been through enough for one day. Lily took his hand, letting him pull her gently to her feet. As they walked out of the restaurant together, his hand at the small of her back, she caught their reflection in a window. They looked like a couple, like a real couple. Like a powerful man and the woman he'd claimed as his own. It should have terrified her. Instead, she felt something else. Something warm and confusing that she didn't want to examine too closely. Damien? She said as they reached the car. Yes? Thank you. For For all of this. For protecting me." He paused, his hand on the car door, and looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "I don't care about your past, Lily," he said quietly. "The mistakes you made, the things you survived, none of it matters to me. Just stay with me. Do what I say, and I'll make sure no one ever hurts you again." It was a promise. A vow. And coming from a man like Damien Cross, it might as well have been written in blood. Lily climbed into the car, and as they drove back to the penthouse, she realized with startling clarity that she believed him. Completely. Absolutely. And that scared her more than anything else that had happened in the past 24 hours. Sue. 2 weeks passed in a strange blur of luxury and learning to navigate Damien's world. Lily's ribs healed slowly, the constant ache fading to a dull throb she could mostly ignore. But the psychological adjustment was harder. She lived in the penthouse now. Her few belongings moved from her apartment by Damien's people while she'd slept. Her old phone was gone, replaced with a secured device that had exactly 5 contacts. Damien, his assistant Marcus, his head of security, a doctor on call, and emergency services. She wasn't allowed to leave without security, wasn't allowed to contact anyone from her old life, wasn't allowed to exist outside the careful parameters Damien had established for her safety. It should have felt like a prison. Instead, it felt like the first time she'd been able to breathe in years. Damien was different than she'd expected. He was gone most days, handling business she didn't ask about. But when he was home, he was attentive in ways that confused her. Not romantic, he'd been clear this was a business arrangement, but protective. Almost possessive, he noticed when she winced from her ribs. Made sure she took her medication. Ordered food from restaurants she mentioned liking in passing. And every night, before he disappeared into his study or his own bedroom, he asked the same question. "Are you safe? Do you feel safe?" And every night, Lily's answer was the same. Yes? But tonight was different. Lily woke to the sound of her phone buzzing on the nightstand, insistent, urgent, wrong at 3 in the morning. She grabbed it, her heart already racing, and saw a text from an unknown number. "You think you're safe? You think he can protect you? Ask him about Sophia Marino. Ask him what happened to the last woman who tried to use him." Lily's blood ran cold. She read the message 3 times, her hands shaking, before she heard it movement in the hallway. Footsteps approaching her door. She shoved the phone under her pillow just as the door opened. Damien stood silhouetted in the doorway, wearing dark pants and nothing else, his chest bare and marked with scars she'd never seen before. His expression was hard, dangerous. "Pack a bag," he said without preamble. "We're leaving." "What? Why?" "Now, Lily." His tone left no room for argument. "We have 10 minutes before this building becomes a target." "Target." The word sent ice through her veins. She scrambled out of bed, her ribs protesting, and grabbed the go-bag Marcus had made her keep packed. "What's happening?" Jackson made a mistake. Damien moved to the window, looking down at the street below. He didn't accept the Marinos cutting him loose. He made deals, brought in outside help. And now there are people who think taking you will hurt me. Will it? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Damien turned, his dark eyes locking on hers, and something flickered in their depths. "Get your bag!" They left through a service exit Lily hadn't known existed, descending stairs that seemed to go down forever into a parking garage 3 levels below ground. A different car waited armored, with bullet-resistant glass and Marcus at the wheel with 2 other security personnel. "Where are we going?" Lily asked, as Damien pushed her into the back seat and climbed in beside her. "Somewhere they can't follow." He was on his phone, typing rapid messages. "Somewhere secure." The car shot out of the garage with emergency speed, tires squealing on the concrete. Lily looked back through the rear window and saw another vehicle pull in behind them, dark SUV, tinted windows, moving with intent. "Damien, I see them." His voice was calm, controlled. "Marcus, Route 7. "Yes, sir." The sedan took a hard right, Then another, weaving through empty streets with practiced precision. The SUV stayed with them, closing the distance. Then another vehicle appeared from a side street, boxing them in. They're not trying to follow us, Lily realized, fear spiking through her. They're trying to trap us. Good observation. Damien's hand found her knee, squeezed once reassurance or instruction. She wasn't sure. Put your head down. Now. She obeyed just as the first gunshot cracked through the night. The rear window shattered, or rather, the bullet-resistant glass spiderwebbed but held. More shots followed, a staccato rhythm that made Lily's ears ring even through the car's armor. Marcus didn't slow down. If anything, he accelerated, taking corners at speeds that made the sedan drift. Behind them, one of the pursuit vehicles lost control, spinning out. But the other stayed close. "Who are they?" Lily asked, her voice muffled against her knees. "Kowalski family," Damien said grimly. "Eastern European syndicate. Jackson must have promised them something significant to get them to move against me." "What could he possibly—" "You," Damien interrupted. "He promised them you. Or more specifically, he promised them that taking you would destabilize my operations enough to make me vulnerable. And would it?" She couldn't help asking again, needing to understand why this man was risking so much for a fake wife he'd known 2 weeks. Damien looked at her, and in the intermittent streetlights, she saw something in his eyes that made her breath catch. "Yes," he said quietly. "It would." Before she could process that admission, Marcus spoke up. "Sir, we're not going to make it to the safe house. They're anticipating route changes. We need to go to ground." "The warehouse," Damien decided. "The old one on Pier 15. That's not secure." "It doesn't need to be secure. It just needs to buy us time." Damien pulled out his phone, made a rapid call in Italian. Then he turned to Lily. "When we stop, you run. You run fast, and you don't look back. Understand? I can't leave you. You can and you will." His hand cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "I need you safe, Lily. That's all that matters. Getting you somewhere they can't reach you." "But—" The car slammed to a stop, throwing Lily forward. They'd arrived at what looked like an abandoned warehouse district. The kind of place that got torn down for development but hadn't been touched in years. "Move," Damien ordered, pushing her door open. Lily stumbled out, her ribs screaming in protest. Marcus and the other security personnel were already out, weapons drawn, forming a protective circle. Behind them, 2 SUVs screeched to a stop. Men poured out, too many men, all armed. "Inside!" Damien grabbed Lily's hand and ran, pulling her toward the warehouse entrance. The door was unlocked, rusted, opening onto darkness. They plunged inside, and Lily heard Damien's security team opening fire behind them, buying them seconds, maybe minutes. The warehouse was massive, empty, with high ceilings and broken windows that let in just enough moonlight to see by. Damien didn't slow down, pulling her deeper into the darkness, toward what looked like an office at the far end. "In here!" He shoved her into the small room, then turned to barricade the door with a metal filing cabinet. "Stay down. Stay quiet. No matter what you hear, don't move." "Damien, there are too many of them." "I know." He pulled a gun from somewhere she hadn't even seen him carrying it and checked the magazine with practiced efficiency. "Which is why I need you hidden. If they get past me—" "They won't," Lily said with sudden, fierce certainty. She didn't know where the confidence came from, but she believed it. "You won't let them." Something softened in his expression just for a second, just long enough for her to see the man beneath the mafia boss. "No," he agreed quietly. "I won't." Then he was gone, disappearing into the warehouse darkness. Lily crouched behind the desk, her heart hammering, listening to the sounds of violence echoing through the space. Gunshots, shouting, the thud of bodies hitting concrete. Minutes passed like hours. She pressed her hands over her mouth to keep from making noise, tears streaming down her face, her ribs aching with every terrified breath. Then silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Lily. A voice from the darkness, not Damien's. Accented, cold. We know you're here. Come out, and we won't hurt you. She didn't move. Didn't breathe. Your husband is dead, the voice continued. His men are dead. You're alone. And if you don't come out, we'll burn this building down with you in it. Still, she stayed silent, frozen with terror. Footsteps approached the office. The door handle rattled. Last chance, little bird. The filing cabinet scraped as someone pushed against it from the other side, moving it inch by inch. Lily looked around desperately for anything she could use as a weapon, but there was nothing, just an empty desk and broken office chairs. The cabinet moved further. A hand appeared in the gap, reaching for the door. Then the hand disappeared, followed by a scream. You don't get to leave me! Damien's voice cut through the darkness, cold, lethal, absolute. Not now, not ever. More sounds of violence. A body hitting the floor. Silence again. Then the filing cabinet moved, pushed aside easily, and Damien filled the doorway. He was covered in blood, not his own. Lily registered with distant relief, and his eyes were darker than she'd ever seen them. Dangerous. Almost feral. Are you hurt? He asked, his voice tight. She shook her head, unable to speak. Good. He crossed the small office in 2 strides, and pulled her to her feet, his hands cupping her face as he examined her for injuries. We need to go. Now. More will be coming. Your men? Alive. Injured, but alive. Marcus is coordinating extraction. He grabbed her hand. Move. They ran through the warehouse, and Lily tried not to look at the bodies littering the floor, tried not to count them, tried not to process what Damien had done to protect her. Outside, more cars had arrived, Damien's people this time, recognizable by the way they moved with coordinated precision. Marcus was there, blood streaming from a cut on his head but standing steady. All targets neutralized, he reported. But we have a problem, sir. Define problem. Jackson Hayes. Marcus gestured to one of the cars. We caught him watching from across the street. He set this whole thing up, paid the Kowalskis to attack, thinking you'd die and he could reclaim her. Damien's entire body went rigid. Where is he now? Secured in Vehicle 3. Good. Damien's voice was ice. Take Lily to the safe house. All of you. I'll handle Hayes personally. Damien, no. Lily grabbed his arm. Don't do this. Not for me. He's not worth. He tried to kill you. Damien turned to face her, and the raw fury in his eyes stole her breath. He broke your ribs, terrorized you for years, and now he hired people to murder you in front of me. He's worth exactly what I'm about to do to him. Which is? Making sure he never threatens anyone again. He pulled her close, one hand tangling in her hair, the other around her waist. Possessive, protective, absolute. Stay here. Stay safe. And don't try to stop me, because nothing you say will change what happens next. I'm not trying to stop you, Lily whispered. I'm trying to tell you. If you had the choice, I'd never let you go. So come back. Promise me you'll come back. Damien stared at her, something shifting in his expression. Then he kissed her hard, desperate, claiming before pulling away. Stay here, he repeated. Stay safe. That's all I need. He walked toward the car holding Jackson, and Lily watched, her heart in her throat, as the most dangerous man she'd ever met prepared to do terrible things. For her, because she was his, because he'd claimed her, and because somewhere in the chaos and violence and forced proximity, they'd both stopped pretending this was just business. Marcus gently guided her toward another car, and as they drove away, Lily looked back to see Damien disappearing into the night. Jackson's fate sealed, and she realized with terrifying clarity, she wasn't just protected anymore. She was loved. If you're enjoying this story, I'd be so grateful for a like and subscribe. It helps me bring you more stories you'd love. Woo. The safe house was a mansion 40 miles outside the city, hidden behind gates and security that made the penthouse look accessible by comparison. Marcus had brought Lily here, then left to coordinate cleanup and cover stories, leaving her alone with her thoughts and the knowledge that somewhere out there, Damien was doing something she probably didn't want to think about too hard. She showered, washing away the dirt and fear and the lingering scent of gunpowder. Changed into clothes someone had left in the bedroom, soft, comfortable, probably expensive, and waited. Hours passed. Dawn broke through the windows. Still no Damien. Finally, around 8 a.m., she heard a car on the gravel drive. Footsteps on the stairs. The door opening. Damien walked in looking exhausted, his clothes different from last night. His hands scrubbed clean, but his eyes holding shadows of whatever he'd done. "It's over," he said simply. "Jackson won't be a problem anymore." Is he alive? In police custody with enough evidence of his crimes to keep him locked up for the next 20 years. Damien moved to the window, looking out at the manicured grounds. His connection to the Kowalski attack, his assault history, the fraud he committed using your name, all of it, delivered to the DA this morning. "You didn't kill him," Lily said, something like relief flooding through her. "I wanted to." Damien's voice was tight. "God, I wanted to. But you asked me to come back. And I knew if I crossed that line, if I killed him in cold blood, you'd never look at me the same way again." Lily crossed the room, standing beside him at the window. "What did you do to him?" "Made him understand exactly what would happen if he ever came near you again. Made him understand that prison is the safest place for him, because if he gets out, I'll finish what I started last night." Damien looked at her, his dark eyes searching her face. "Are you horrified? Disgusted?" "I should be," Lily admitted. "But I'm not. I'm just grateful that you came back, that you're here, that I'm safe." "You are safe," Damien said firmly. "Completely safe. The Kowalskis are backing off. They lost 6 men last night and don't want to lose more over a vendetta that doesn't concern them. The Marinos confirmed they want no part of this. And Jackson is gone. So the contract." Lily's throat tightened. "The marriage. We don't need it anymore." "No," Damien agreed. "Legally, you're free. I can have it dissolved, set you up with new identification, money, everything you need to start over wherever you want." "Is that what you want?" Lily asked, the question barely a whisper. "For me to go?" Damien was silent for a long moment, his jaw tight. "What I want doesn't matter. This was supposed to be protection, a business arrangement. Not what?" She turned to face him fully. "Not real. Not this." He gestured between them, frustration and something deeper bleeding through his control. "Not me lying awake at night making sure you're breathing safely in the next room. Not me willing to go to war with 3 crime families because someone threatened you. Not me." He stopped, running a hand through his hair. "This wasn't supposed to happen." "But it did," Lily said softly. "Didn't it?" "Yes." The admission seemed to cost him. "It did. Somewhere between that first text and last night, you stopped being a problem to solve. You stopped being an obligation. You became everything," Lily finished, using his word from weeks ago. "I became everything." Damien's laugh was short, almost pained. "I built an empire on control, on keeping people at arm's length, on never letting anyone close enough to become a weakness. And then you sent me a text by mistake. And..." He turned to her, his hands coming up to frame her face with devastating gentleness. "And I would burn the world down for you. And you know it. That's the terrifying part. You know exactly how much power you have over me. The same power you have over me," Lily whispered, her hands finding his chest, feeling his heartbeat under her palms. "Because somewhere in this mess, I fell for you. The real you. Not the mafia boss. Not the dangerous man everyone fears. Just Damien. Just Damien is still dangerous," he warned. "Still violent. still everything you should run from. Then I guess I'm done running. She rose on her toes, ignoring the protest from her nearly healed ribs. Because you asked me once what I wanted, and I said safety. Real safety. The kind that comes from someone who proves it, not just promises it. And? His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. And you've proven it, Lily said, her voice breaking slightly. Every day, every fight, every time you chose to protect me over everything else. So now I'm choosing you. Not because I'm trapped, not because I'm scared, but because I want to. Tell me what you want, Damien said, echoing their earlier conversation. Your ex-boyfriend is in prison. Your name is clear. You're free. So tell me, Lily, what do you want? You, she said simply. I want you. This life. This dangerous, chaotic, impossible life. With you. Damien's control finally cracked. He kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning, his hands in her hair, her body pressed against his. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was desperate and claiming and full of all the things they'd both been too afraid to say. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Damien rested his forehead against hers. No one touches what's mine, he said quietly. Not even you. You understand? If you choose this, choose me. I'm not letting go. Ever. Good, Lily breathed. Because I'm not going anywhere. Not unless you say so. I'll never say so. His arms tightened around her. I would burn the world down for you, and you know it. I know, she whispered. I know. They stood there for a long moment, wrapped in each other, the morning light painting them in gold. Two broken people who'd found each other by accident and chosen each other on purpose. Stay with me, Damien murmured against her hair. Not because of a contract, not because you're afraid. Just stay. I'm staying, Lily promised. For as long as you'll have me. Forever then. He pulled back to look at her, his dark eyes soft in a way she'd never seen before. Because I don't love softly, Lily. I don't love easily. But when I love, it's absolute, permanent, forever. I love you too, she said, the words feeling both terrifying and inevitable. Even though you're dangerous, even though this is insane, I love you. Good. Damien's smile was slow, genuine. Because I'm keeping you. Really keeping you. Not for protection, not for appearances, just because you're mine. And I don't let go of what's mine. He kissed her again, softer this time but no less intense. And as the sun rose fully outside the windows, painting the safe house in warm light, Lily realized something profound. She'd sent a desperate text to the wrong number in a dark alley, broken and afraid. And somehow, impossibly, she'd found exactly the right person. A man who'd stood between her and danger. A man who'd gone to war for her. A man who loved with the same intensity he fought absolutely, completely, permanently. We should probably talk about the details, Lily said eventually, practical even in the aftermath of emotional confessions. The contract, the marriage, what happens now? What happens now is we make it real, Damien said firmly. All of it, the marriage, the life, the future, no more pretending. No more contracts. Just us, choosing this every day. You want to really marry me? Lily asked, her heart racing. Not for protection, not for business, but for real? I already consider you my wife, he said simply. Have, since the moment you signed that contract. The only question is whether you want to make it official in a way that matters to you, not just to the law. Lily thought about it. About the life she'd left behind, the fear she'd survived, the impossible twist of fate that had brought her here. Thought about Damien's hands cleaning her wounds, his voice promising protection, his body shielding hers in the darkness. Yes, she said finally. I want to make it official. All of it. Damien's smile was devastating. Good. Because I'm not giving you a choice anyway. You're mine, Lily Cross. Mine to protect. Mine to keep safe. Mine to love. And I don't share. Possessive, Lily teased, but her heart was soaring. Absolutely, he agreed without shame. You broke my ribs, metaphorically speaking. Broke through every wall I'd built, changed everything. So yes, I'm possessive, and I'm not apologizing for it. I don't want you to, Lily said honestly. I want you exactly as you are. Dangerous, protective, mine. Always, Damien promised. Forever. He kissed her again, and this time there was no fear, no desperation, just promise and certainty, and the absolute knowledge that they were choosing this, choosing each other, choosing love in the most unlikely of circumstances. 6 months later, Lily stood in front of floor-to-ceiling windows in the penthouse they now shared completely, watching the city lights twinkle below. Her ribs had healed fully. Jackson was serving his sentence. The Marinos and Kowalskis had long since backed off, unwilling to challenge Damien's claim. And she was happy. Genuinely, impossibly happy. Arms wrapped around her from behind, Damien's chin resting on her shoulder as he pulled her close. Thinking? He asked quietly. About that night, Lily admitted. When I sent you that text by mistake. Best wrong number I ever got, Damien said, his arms tightening slightly. The worst night of my life, Lily said honestly. But also the beginning of the best. You texted a mafia boss by accident, Damien said, amusement in his voice. Most people would consider that a nightmare. Most people didn't get you, Lily countered, turning in his embrace to look up at him. Most people don't know that beneath the dangerous exterior is someone who keeps his promises, who protects what's his, who loves absolutely, who loves you absolutely, Damien corrected, his hands framing her face. Only you. I'm keeping you, Lily said, rising on her toes to kiss him. Forever. No contracts, no conditions, just us. Forever, Damien agreed against her lips. I'm coming for you, and you won't escape again. Not from safety, not from protection, not from me. Good, Lily whispered, because I'm not running anymore. He kissed her as the city glittered below, as their impossible love story continued, as the woman who'd texted the wrong number found exactly the right ending, the mafia boss who'd answered when she needed help, the man who'd fought for her, the husband who loved her with the same intensity he'd once reserved for building his empire. Absolutely. Completely. Forever.